And our third main topic today comes to us from Avi Starr, who writes, "Hey, movie team, I'm known as movies. They're really, I know as movies. They're really just empty calories, but I love me some Fast and Furious movies. Sorry, Rob, I'm a hashtag Han had it coming guy." Well done, Avi, well done. Just saw they've officially started shooting Fast 9. 9. Very few movie franchises make it this long. Can you put into perspective how big of a deal this is and the way the series has influenced the industry? All right, thanks a lot for that, Avi. And you're right, I think there are many things in life, let alone just in the movie world, that we just take for granted. We've all known Fast 9 is coming. Yeah, Fast 9 is coming. Fast 9, Fast 9. But then Vin Diesel puts out this little social media video with him and I think it was Michelle Rodriguez. And it's just them. They have just now officially completed shooting day one. The Fast 9 is now in production. It's shooting. So it's a reality. Yeah, on a farm apparently. If we call it the tangibilization of the reality that the movie's actually in motion now. But
it's all tractors.
It's just, now they're racing tractors to space. So one of the things, though, that really kind of caught me was when Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez just kept saying, 9, because Diesel's like, hey, we started shooting Fast 9. She's like, 9, and it's really when she says that it breaks you out of that taking it for granted thing for a minute. It's like, wait a minute, it's true. This is going to be the 9th, 10th if you want to count Hobbs and Shaw, which is all in the same universe. So let's say 10. It's Fast and Furious 9, but really it's the 10th film in the franchise. This is crazy. Because you're getting into the realm of the Harry Potter universe. You're getting into the realm of the Star Wars universe. You're getting into the realm of the Marvel MCU. You're getting into the territory of James. Now, James Bond is like 25, but you know what I'm saying? You're getting into those conversations with film franchises that have like 9 or 10 films in them. They just keep completely going. And I want to suggest this, Rob. When I think about the longevity of Fast and Furious, I think about its adaptability. Because Fast and the Furious, I'm going to tell you straight up, and I'm not embarrassed to tell you this. The first Fast and Furious movie, I think, is a tragedy. It is a blatant ripoff of Point Break, of the Keanu Reeves film Point Break. Just plot point by plot point by plot point. It's a complete ripoff of Point Break. That said, they did get an audience because a lot of people were into cars and they did that right, and they did it a certain way. As the series progressed, it started to figure out its own identity, and it started to change. And you really saw that once we got into Fast 4. Once we got into Fast 4, you saw this franchise start to kind of embrace this identity of ridiculous, ball-to-the-walls, bonkers action with the most ludicrous and silly things, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to own it, and we're going to bring in characters that support that. They brought in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, all that kind of stuff, and it took off. It becoming one of the franchises that has members in the $1 billion club at this point. So there's all that. As far as thinking in terms of its place in Hollywood history, look, when you've got an action franchise that has done it the way the Fast and Furious franchise has done it, with the success, as we mentioned, it's got several members in the $1 billion club, with the success that it's had, you know that it's had an impact both on directors and the boardroom in a lot of movie studios going, well, these are some of the things we need to glean from this and move on. And as silly as it sounds, and you're right, I love the way you describe these movies, empty calorie movies. They are in many ways empty calorie movies. But you know what? So is a delicious bowl of vanilla ice cream. And I will rip your arm off if you try to come between me and a delicious bowl of vanilla ice cream. And that's kind of the Fast and the Furious franchise. And you really do have to take a moment, Rob, I think, and appreciate really where it is, because I think a lot of people are like me, Rob. I think we just took it for granted that it just keeps going and going and going. Not just keeps going, succeeds and succeeds and succeeds. And I think it's pretty impressive. Anyway, you're looking at this whole benchmark now, 9th in the proper franchise, 10th overall. Like, how do you respond to something like that?
Well, I have a great love of this franchise.
Yes.
And a lot of people have taken me to task for this. Why do you love this franchise, Rob? You're so erudite in your tastes. And I'm like, look, man, this is a franchise that, first of all, another thing that people don't talk about this franchise, at least talk enough about it, is the multi-ethnic makeup of the cast.
Yes. Before it was cool to do it.
Before it was cool to do it, you have strong female characters. You have, really, it was a look at LA's street culture. You know, and you had your Asian gangs, your Hispanic gangs. You had the white outsider who's really an undercover cop who falls in love with, you know, the sister of the leader. I mean, it's soap opera 101 that is dealing with the street level world that existed. And then look, the masterstroke that is Fast Five, the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise. When you watch Fast Five, one of the greatest action films ever made, of course, silly, which is coming on the heels of the most maligned and underrated film ever made, which is, of course, Fast and Furious 3, Tokyo Drift, which has nothing to do with the first two movies. They reinvent the franchise. They introduce Han Solo, Sun Kang's Han Solo, greatest hair of any male actor who's ever lived, who, of course, dies at the end of the movie. But then they turn Fast 4, 5, and 6 into prequels so Justin Lin can bring Han back. Come on. This franchise is up there with the Godfather saga as one of the great American film franchises. And if you don't recognize that, we had Vin Diesel moving a torpedo that was going across the ice in Fate of the Furious, and he like pushes it aside and survives a small nuclear explosion. I mean, this franchise is going to be recognized when we are burned to a cinder in the future, and all that remains are some weird like disc of all of humanity's achievements that aliens are going to look at. They're going to stop and they're going to marvel at the Fast and the Furious franchise in thousands of millennia, and we are all the better for it, John.
Rob, I asked you to put it into perspective for us, and you put it into perspective for us. Thank you for that.
And they're all on 4K disc
and
now.
They're all on 4K disc. Aaron, I mean, look, this thing has been around. This franchise has been around most of a lot of people's lives, maybe all of some people's lives.
Sure.
It's got an incredible track record and all that kind of stuff. When you look at, let's start using the word, when you start looking at the legacy of the Fast and Furious franchise, what do you think about, and what does hitting like Fast 9 kind of mean to you?
Well, I think that I would lean more towards it falls into the Friday the 13th category versus Godfather, but you know, whatever you want to connect it to. I actually worked with Vin Diesel 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, on a webisode series called The Ropes, which I think is out there in the universe somewhere. And I remember talking to him at length about the process of the whole Fast and the Furious empire. And one of the things that I think about when I hear about these films that, empty calories, but by the way, vanilla ice cream, dairy, calcium, just gonna put it out there. When I think about these big tentpole movies, they keep the lights on for the studio.
Yes.
So when I see that Universal is doing a 9th Fast and the Furious, I go, that's awesome, because the money that they make from that, they will be able to use to make smaller films.
Yes.
So for all the people that go, oh my God, I don't want to, why are they making this kind of movie? They should make more highbrow, whatever. They are only able to make more independent, like the independent arm films, or films that are more Oscar buzzworthy, or the films that you want to really get into and sink your teeth into that are human stories. They're only able to tell those stories, which don't usually make a lot of money, because they balance it out with the franchises like Fast 9s or Fast and the Furious. So I'm thrilled. It means that there's just more opportunities for more films to get made by Universal.
That's such a great observation about that. And a lot of people, I think, miss those cues, because you're right. We hear a lot of people complaining about whether it's the big Marvel or the big DC movies or whatever. So blah, 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 but that's what's bringing in the money right now.
That's what keeps the lights on.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Well, listen, guys, what do you think about that? Now that we're up to like the 10th film in this franchise, is it fair to start talking about legacy? Is it fair to start talking about the legacy and the impact that this empty calories kind of movie has actually had on the industry? I want to know what you guys think about that. Jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right.